Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Aaron, are you going in tomorrow for the procedure? Okay, so Rabbi said the first order of business is Aaron is going in for a heart procedure tomorrow. So we're going to have him in mind. Aaron ben Sarah should have a refuah shalema b'seich shechel Yisrael, should go easy and helpful, and we should see you back quickly.
Did you mention my cousin Errol?
Yeah.
It's Yochanan Yosef ben Masha.
Yochanan Yosef ben Masha.
Yochanan Yosef ben Masha. Yeah, he's in the hospital for his infection or something. Should have a
refuah shalema. He's in the hospital with an infection. He should have a refuah shalema b'seich shechel Yisrael. We are sponsored by A.B. Spry and by Michal Avram, and let's see. We are holding now all the way on the bottom of Daf Kuf Ches Amud Beis. I saved the last little piece before the Mishnah, and we welcome in Irving Fishbaum, Aaron Swade, Eddie Chazan. We welcome Mo Kushner. We welcome Shimon Klein and Menachem Umansky, Dr. Guy, Yitzi Fuchs, Shalom Fogel, Yitzi Muller, Elliot Udell. Saba is back with us, Nachman Chapler, Naftali Javelin, Ilya Shutman, Rabbi Kranz. And here in Shul, Baruch Hashem, we have a nice olam, as we are joined here in Shul by Berish Gesseman. We're joined here by Ruvain Shanit and Michal Chavin. We welcome back Avram Rezepkowitz. It's good to have you back. Gedalia Engel, Rich Lenner, as the item is outside with the pickles. It's nice to have it. Like Barry said, it's nice to have, a nice item in the shul. So the Gemara says now, 2 lines from the bottom, Hani Dalid B'nei Mitzronei. 2 lines from the bottom of Kuf Ches Amud Beis. 2 lines from the bottom of Kuf Ches Amud Beis. So Eddie has a field, and surrounding the field, the number is 914408.
Yeah.
So why is he having problems now? Fisher can't get on. Why would he have a problem?
Bob, I think you have to put it in your phone number like we used to do, and then it asks you for a code. I don't know if that's the way they're doing it, but that's the procedure.
So you have to put in the phone number also.
First, you put in the phone number, and then
it looks like he's here. It looks like he's here. It did work, right? Sure, it worked, right? Yeah. Okay.
Hi.
You just sent me a message. It didn't work.
Right, because it said yes. They meant that it is. So I got in.
Okay, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. It's a lesson to you that you should never miss. That's the lesson.
So you look like a rabbi now in the house.
Yeah. Okay. So we're holding on the bottom of Kuf Ches Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. So what happened over here is Eddie has a field, and surrounding the field on all 4 sides is Shalom Fogel, Yitzi Muller, Elliot, and Saba. So they're all bar mitzvah. So they all have a claim of first right to the field. So Hani Dalad B'nei Mitzrana, the Kodem Chad Minayu V'Zavin, If Shalom, was energetic, and Shalom quickly bought it, zvine, then his purchase is a good purchase. However, v'ikulu asu b'hadei hadadi, if all four neighboring people come at the same time, and they want to buy the field, so then polgala b'kranzel, then we divide it in triangles, as you see in the picture in the bottom, right? So everybody gets the section that's near his field, right? All four surrounded on four sides, so each one takes a quarter of the pie that's most near him, and that's the fairest way to divide it. Now, says the Heilige Mishnah, HaMekabel Sada Mechaveiroi L'Shanim Muatas. If let's say Eddie leases a field for a few years, so lo yizu ena pishtin, he can't plant it with flax. And the reason why he can't plant it with flax is flax drains the land for 7 years. And therefore, if he only leases it for 3 years, he's going to return me the land with less power than when he leased it. And he cannot cut down the beams of the sycamore trees. Now, really, the beams of the sycamore trees, as they grow, are considered fruit of the field. However, because the sycamore trees do not have any fruit, but the beams are very valuable for construction. The only thing is it takes 7 years for them to grow back. So if he only leased it for a few years, he can't cut down those beams. Kiblei menel zayin shanim, but if he leased it for 7 years, then shana rishayna, then the first year yizra'ena pishtin, he could plant it with flax. V'yesh lo b'karish shikma, and he could cut down the first year the sycamore branches, because then it's going to grow back by the time he returns me the field. Now, here's the question. Even though he can't cut down the sycamore, can he ask me for tending the field? And we're talking about in a place where it's a minig to also get the fruit of the tree. Can he ask me for the value of the increase of the sycamore? No, it's during his time in the field, as he's tending the field, he'll say, look, the sycamore branches got this amount thicker or larger, and I want that value. I want you to pay me that value, because I'm entitled to the gain in the field while I lease the field. So Amar Abaye, b'karish shikma, you cannot cut down the sycamore branches, but b'shvach shikma yeshloi. But he can ask to be compensated for the increase of the value while he was tending the field. While Rava says, afilu b'shvach shikma nami yeinloi, he doesn't get even the increase of the value. So Meisvei, the Gemara asks, if Eddie leases the field, and it's time for him to vacate the field, we evaluate. So the Gemara says, doesn't that obviously mean, what does evaluate mean? The grain he's going to take, what do we evaluate? My lav shamaloi b'shvach shikma. Isn't this a raya to a buyer that we evaluate the growth of the sycamore branches and we give it to him? Says it means shaman lo yarka v'silka. We evaluate for him the vegetables and the beets that are growing, and I have to give him the value of the vegetable and the beets. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? Let him cut off the vegetables and beets. Yarka v'silka, the vegetables and the beets. Nakar v'nishkal. Let him uproot them and take them. Says, no, it's talking about, remember, there was no refrigeration in those days. And it's talking about where it wasn't close to the market day. So if Eddie would uproot it, it would spoil. So b'deloi mata yuma deshuka. So then he tells me, look, I'm going to leave the vegetables and the beets. Give me their value because I tended the field. Tajma. So now the Gemara tries to bring another proof. Tajma. Hamakabel sada chaverai. If Eddie leases the field, v'gia shvius, and it reaches the time of shvius, shaminloi. So the Gemara says, we evaluate it. So the Gemara says, what does that mean? That it reaches shvius. So what that it reaches shvius? What does shvius do? Shvius mikam ifka ara. Shvius doesn't cause Eddie to have to leave the field. You're just not allowed to work during shvius, but he doesn't have to leave the field. Ela Ema says to Gemara, I'm a camel son of Mechaverai. If he leases the field, Vigia Yovel, and Yovel arrives, where now the field returns to the ancestral owner. So Shaman, we evaluate it for Eddie. Says Gemara, no, it doesn't leave at Yovel from somebody that leases it. V'akate Yovel mi mifka or kablanis. Does Yovel make Eddie who leased the field have to leave the field? The only person that has to leave Yovel is Litzmisus, if it's a sale, where it would be sold for perpetuity, so Yovel stops it from being sold for perpetuity. But here, where it's leased to Eddie only for a short amount of time, he wouldn't have to leave the field. So that's not what it's talking about either. Rather, Ela Ema halokeach soda mechaverai. If Eddie buys a field for me, Vigia Yovel, and Yovel arrives, so Shaman Lai. So before he returns it, we evaluate. Now the assumption is we evaluate the thickening of the branches of the sycamore tree. So you see that the thickening of the branches of the sycamore tree are peiros of the field. It means Shaman Loi biyarka v'silka, that we evaluate Eddie, the vegetables and the beets in the field. Silka v'yarka, if it's the vegetables and the beets in the field, once Yovel comes, they become hefker. Hefkerah, they become hefker. And therefore, there would be no reason for me to compensate Eddie for the vegetables and the beets. Elalav, isn't it talking about shvach shikma, the improvement of the sycamore? Says the Gemara, you're right, but Tirgam Abaya, leave the Rav Shani Hasam, the Omakra, the Pasuk says, V'yotza mimkor bayis. There should go out in Yovel mimkor bayis. That which was sold could go back. Mimker chayzer. Only that which is sold goes back to the owner, but shvach einay chayzer. But the improvement doesn't go back. Says the Gemara, okay, if that's true by Yovel, we should learn it over here also. V'mnigma mina, that it should apply by a lease too. Says Gemara, no, it's not the same. Hasam zvine ma'al yehu. There was a sale. A sale includes the shvach of the tree. And v'yovel afkata the malkahi, and yovel is a special divine release, but otherwise the sale is for everything, and therefore the sale applies to the shvach shikma, but not the a lease. Now, Rapapa Kabul Ara Las Pasta. Rapapa leased land to grow in it aspasta, animal fodder. Chotchu batole. at the time that he was planting the aspasta, there grew palm shoots. So Amalahu, so he said, Havuli Shvacha. He said, since I leased the field and I tended the field, and it's a makom where you also get the fruits of the peiros, give me the improvement of these palm saplings that grew. So Amalei Rav Sheish B'Rei Rav Idi Rav Papa Elamata, let's say Dikla v'Olim. Let's say that there was a palm tree and it got thick. You leased a palm tree for the dates and it got thick. Hachanami deboy mar shvache. There also would the master ask for the improvement of the thickening of the palm tree. So he says that's different. That's different. Because Amalei Hasam Lava Daita Dahachi Nachis. I didn't make a lease for the growth of the tree. But here I wanted benefit from all of the land. So whatever grows from the land, I want benefit from. Says Gemara, Kaman, is this going like Kabaya, the Amma B'Shvak Shikmo Yeshloi? Is this going like Kabaya, who says that you get the improvement of the sycamore, and that's why he wants the improvement of these saplings? So he says, no. Afilu Tema Kurava. In the case of the sycamore tree, he wasn't losing any land because the sycamore tree got thicker. So maybe he doesn't have, according to Rava, he holds that that's not considered peiros, that's considered the tree itself, and he doesn't get that. But here he says if the palm saplings wouldn't have grown, I could have planted on the land. Because if the palm saplings wouldn't have grown, he would have been able to plant on the ground. So Rav Papa said, if that's the logic, so Amalei, he said, he told Rav Papa, not Rav Papa, the owner of the land told Rav Papa, Amalei my pesadaticha, you're saying that if the palm saplings wouldn't have grown, you would have planted there, so you would have planted more aspasta. You would have planted more fodder. So my pesadaticha yod aspasta, room to plant more aspasta, shkol yod aspasta. So I'm not going to give you the improvement of the saplings. I'm not going to give you improvement of the saplings. I'll give you the value of aspasta that you could have planted in that area. Shkol yedoda aspasta v'zil, and leave. So he says, well, I could have planted kurkuma de rishka over there. I could have planted very expensive garden saffron. Amalei ano kurkuma rishka, Rabbi. I could have planted garden saffron there. Yeah, so I deserve that value. So Amalei, so he said to him, from the fact that you tell me that you could have planted garden crocuses, garden saffron, that means that you tipped your hand that you want to remove, you would have planted to remove it, not to have something growing there. So therefore you're only entitled to have the value of the wood of these saplings, but not the value of a live tree that will remain there for a long time. So Amalei, Golis Adaitach, the Lemishkov is Taluke of this, that you would plant in order to remove something, because the garden saffron you would have removed. Shkol kurkuma rishka bazil. So take now what is analogous to the garden saffron. No, it's take the value of the wood of the saplings Ein l'cha ela d'mei eitzim bilvat, because that's what you could take away. You're not getting the value of a live tree that's there for keeps, because you tipped your hand that you were going to plant something to take it away. Rabbi bar Abaya, Kabel Ara. Rabbi bar Abaya leased land, and the land around the border eroded. It's interesting, you have to be a farmer to know these things. But the land eroded, and there came out an outcropping of rock. V'aderle mishunisa. And from this rock, kotchu bei zardosa, there sprouted sorb trees. Now, sorb trees, you should know, is a Talmudic wonder tree. We welcome in Nathan Langner, Richard Rosenzweig. I'm glad, Richard, you were able to get back on. And remember, the Zoom code is 914-408. 914-408. We're going to try to straighten all of that mess out. As we welcome in Michal Akta, we welcome also David Helfgott joining us on Kol Halashin. So anyway, again, Rabbi Bar Abaya leased this field, and the land around the border eroded. There grew an outcropping of rock, and from it grew these sorb trees. The sorb trees, the Gemara tells us that the sorb trees, everything about them are edible. Their leaves are edible. Their fruit are edible. The husks and the berries are edible. Everything. It's a valuable tree. Kikamistalik, when Bibi was leaving, Amalahu Havli Shvachai, give me the improvement in the land, and therefore I want the value of the sorb trees too. So he said, Amra Papi Mishum da Asisi Mimuloi, because you come from people whose lives are shortened. Rabbi Weiss descended from Eli, and Eli's family were cursed that they should not live long. So because you come from people whose lives were shortened, Amri say Mile Muluyosa, you say shortened things, or blemished things. Afilu Rapapa Layamar, even Rapapa said it, Eladis like Pseda, because otherwise you would be able to plant things there. But here, where it grew out from the rock, you couldn't plant anything there. Hakamai Pseda Isla. What? It didn't grow from land, it grew from the outcropping of rock. There's no loss, and therefore you're not entitled to get anything. Rav Yosef, Havalei Hahu Shasla. Rav Yosef had a vine dresser, a planter. Shachiv, the vine dresser died. Vishavik Chamisha Chasan Vasa. And he left 5 son-in-laws. Now the 5 son-in-laws wanted to continue, all 5 of them, with the job. Amar, he said, no. Ado in Nachad. Until now I had 1 worker. Hashta Chamisha. Now I'll have 5 people. That doesn't work for me. Because Ado in Loyabi Samche Adadi, you know how it works. If you have 5 Gabayim, each one relies the other person will take care of it. It's good. There's a saying for it in the Gemara. The pot belonging to partners is never hot enough, never cool enough, because everybody's going to says the other one is going to do it, right? And then it doesn't get done. And that's what he says. Each one is going to rely on the other to take care of it, and I'm going to lose. So Amalahu, he said to them, look, if you take the improvement until now, which was entitled to your father-in-law, and leave me, mutav. If not, I'll remove you, I'll vacate you below shifcha, without giving you the improvement. Tam Rav Yehuda v'Yisem Rav Huna v'Yisem Rav Nachman, Hai Shasel the Shachif, a vine dresser that dies, Yoshim delay mistalkim below shvacha. You could get rid of the ears without giving them the improvement that their father, or in this case their father-in-law, did. However, the Gemara says, "Wala milsi." What he told them is not true. You're not allowed to remove them without paying. He is allowed to tell them, "I don't want you to continue." He just didn't want to have trouble with them, so he told them this in order to scare them. Now, Haru Shaslo Da'amalahu, there was a planter who said to Shalom, he told Shalom, if I cause you loss, then I'll leave. If I cause you loss, he told him, look, if I cause you loss, I'll remove myself. Afsid, he caused loss. Now, he caused loss, but that doesn't mean that there was no improvement to Shalom. There was improvement. Just in some of the improvement, he did a bad job, and he caused some loss. So the question is, okay, he has to leave, but isn't he entitled to be paid for the improvement that he did? So Rav Yehuda says no. Mistalik below shvacha. You could remove him without compensating him for the improvement that he did. Rav Kahana, no. Mistalik v'shakal shivcha. You could remove him, but he gets the improvement that he made. Umayda Rav Kahana, D.E. Amam, Rav Kahana admits that if the guy wanted to, be hired by Shalom, so he gave him a real ironclad guarantee, and he said, Ipasidna, that if I cause you loss, Mistalikna below shvacha, you could remove me without giving me any of the improvement, then Mistalik below shvacha, then Shalom could say, look, you guaranteed me that if you mess up, you're not getting anything. However, Rava says that's an asmachta. No, it's something that really is not equitable. I mean, if he caused him loss, it's one thing, but if he caused him loss, he shouldn't get paid for the improvement that he did. That's not equitable. And therefore, he really didn't mean it. He just never thought he would cause a loss. That's an asmachta. Rava ma asmachta, iva asmachta loikanya. Says Gemara Ularava, ma'ishna mahadisnan. Why is it different than that which the sharecropper guarantees? Im oiver v'loy avid. If I leave the land fallow and I don't work it, ashalim b'meitva, I'll pay you from the best of what it would have produced. And we don't say that it's a smachta. So the Gemara says, well, that's different. That's something that's equitable. He said, if I don't work it, then I'll pay you for what would have been done. That's okay. That's an equitable loss. That's not an asmachta. Hasa mayda afsid mishalem hacha. But over here, mayda afsid menakinala. What he didn't do well, Shalom could deduct the idach, but the improvement yavinala, because to deduct the improvement, that would not be equitable. That would only be an asmachta, and asmachta loikan. Now, Runya Shasla the Ravina. Runya was a planter for Ravina. Afsid, he caused Ravina damage, and Salke, and Ravina removed him. Amalei, so Asal came to Rava. Runya came to Rava. Amalei, and he said to Rava, Chazi Mar, my Avidli. Does the master see what they're doing to me? You see what they're doing to me? That they're firing me? Amalei Shaper of it. He's doing well. You messed up, so he's removing you. Amalei, so he said, but Holoi Hisrabi. He didn't give me a warning. He didn't give me a warning. Amalei Leitzricha Lahasres. For this, where it's irreparable damage, you don't have to give warning. Rava L'tamei, the Amar Rava Mikre Dardike, school children. Shasla, planters, Tapka, a butcher, Umna, either a moyel or a bloodletter, the Sefer Masa, and the Sefer of a town, Kulan Kemoisrim V'Aimdim Dami. They're all like they're on probation automatically. A moyel that hurts the child, Chas v'Shalom, makes the child a krus shavcha, you can't reverse that. You don't need a warning for that. He does that, he's fired. That's it. He's out of the bris milah guild. The same thing is true, a bloodletter that kills somebody. It says the Gemara, Klolo de Milsa, Kol Pseida de Loy Hadar, any damage that's irreversible, Kemoisrin V'Aimdim Dami. It says if you're warned from the get-go, from the beginning. 3 lines from the top of Daf Kuf Tes Amud Beis. And Rabbi said we're heading towards the finish line over here. It's really, really fascinating how this Masechta was a tall order. Bava Basra, I think for many will be a much easier journey, and one of the reasons is because it's smaller dafin. Smaller dafin is much easier to tackle and to explain. Also, I wanted to tell everybody that I did find out that Mark Frankel, the reason why he's missing is because he's going today to Eretz Yisrael. So he'll be in Eretz Yisrael. He's going for a wedding. So shout out to Mark. And he said he's going to try to take a page from Yehuda from Yerushalayim's book, and he's going to try to join us sometimes from Yerushalayim. Again, Aaron, I have you very much in mind. Aaron Ben Sora tomorrow should have a good surgery and a refuah shalema b'sek sharchel Yisrael. Now, Hawashasel, there was a planter, the Amalahu, he said to them, Hovli Shvachai, give me the improvements that I made in the field. I want to go on Aliyah. Also, coming to Rapapa by Shmuel, he came before Rapapa by Shmuel, Amalahu, he said that's an acceptable reason. Hovulei Shivchai, give him his improvement. So, the Gemara now says, wait a second. Let's say it's Eddie who did the improvement, so he wants the improvement. What do you mean? It's not just his improvement. I own the land. It's my improvement too. So what do you mean that Eddie gets the improvement? Amalei Rava, you Ashbach? Did Eddie only make the improvement? Araloi Ashbach? Did the land not cause the improvement? So Amalei, no. Ana palga de shvacha kaminalach. What happens is that the improvement is split half by half with the owner of the field. I split it with Eddie. So Gemara says, wait a second, there's a problem over here. If Eddie leaves in the middle, then I'm going to have to get a sharecropper to do the rest of the work. Amalei ado inna havishoko balabayis palga v'shasla palga. Until now, if Eddie would finish the work, he would take half and I would take half. Hashta boy the mace of Mansal Arisa. Now I have to give a portion to the sharecropper. So the Gemara says, you're right. Amalei riva deshmacha karmina. I hold he only gets a quarter of the improvement. Now, we're going to go through this slowly. The Gemara thinks that Eddie really only gets a sixth. So we're gonna learn a situation, a simple case, where the full improvement is 6 dinner. So normally it would be 3 and 3. I would take 3, the owner, and Eddie would take 3. What happens now is I'm going to have to get a sharecropper to work on the field now that Eddie is not here. And the sharecropper takes a third. So you look at the field, it's 6. So the sharecropper has to get a third. So therefore, I get 3. The sharecropper is going to get a third. A third of 6 is 2. And Eddie will get 1, which is not, when it says a quarter, it means a sixth of the whole thing. Let's see it inside. Amalei riva de shvacha kamina. Savarav ashi lamema. Riva, a quarter, du danka, which is a sixth. Damarav minyumi breiderav nechumi. Ba'asra de shakel shasla palga. The planter takes half. Varisa tilsa, and the sharecropper takes a third. So hai shasa the boy list taluke, a planter that wants to leave, yavinu le shvacha umasalkinala, we give him his profit and we remove him ki heichi, in a way to loy nimti hefsed the balabayis, that there should be no loss to the balabayis. So what happens over here is that if Eddie leaves, so the 6 vines, which are worth 6 dinner, will need to be worked with a sharecropper. So I'm getting my half, which is 3, and the sharecropper is going to get a third. A third of the 6 is 2, and what's left for Eddie is 1/6. Says the Gemara. So Iamrit Bishlaima River Du Danka. If it's a quarter, which is a sixth, shopper. Eli Iamrit River Mamish. If Eddie gets a quarter, which is 1.5, a quarter of 6 is 1.5. So if he gets 1.5, and the sharecropper gets a third, which is 3.5, then I'm going to get only 2.5. So that means I'm going to suffer a loss. I'm going to get 2.5 instead of 3, which is a 12th of the total. Right? A half is a 12th of the total, which is palgadanka is a half of a sixth. A half of a sixth is a 12th. So now, Rav Acha Bereid Rav Yosef says something very clever. Very clever. Amalei Rav Acha Bereid Rav Yosef Rav Ashi, V'lei malei ant monsa di loch havalei larisa. I don't want you to give to the Oris. I don't want you to give to the Oris my portion. My portion I'll take care of. Right? So I don't want you to give to the Oris my portion. I'll take what I'll take is you take 4 vines. Now, what does it have to do? In order for him to get 3, in order for him to get 3 and give a third to the Oris, yeah, that's what he says. You take 4 vines, and you have to give a third to the Oris. So you'll give one of the vines, you'll keep 3, and you'll give one of the vines to the Oris. So he'll get a third of what he does for you. And I'll keep 2 vines and I'll sell them. I'll worry about the oris on the 2 vines. So, Amalei Rav Achaber Rav Yosef Rav Ashi v'leimalei ant menasa di lochav larisa. You only give your portion to the oris. And I don't worry about an oris for my portion. Don't calculate it on all 6. And I'll sell my 2 to somebody. So instead of giving me 1 vine, give me 2 vines. Right? And you'll have 3, and you'll give a third to your oris. Why do you want to give me 1, only a 6th? Why do you want to give me only 1 vine? But you see, that's not really a third. So what he tells, Eddie is just complaining that he doesn't want 1 vine, he wants a vine and a half. He says, you know what? You take 3/4 and I'll take 1/4. So 3/4 of 6 would be 4.5. So you take 4.5. So of that 4.5, a third of 4.5 is 1.5. A third of 4.5 is 1.5. So you'll give the oris that 1.5. You'll keep 3 so you won't lose anything. And I'll get 1.5 instead of the 6, instead of the 1 that you'll give me. And I'll take care of my 1.5. You don't have to worry about it. I'll sell my 1.5 to someone. So Rav Ashi told Rav Achaber to Rav Yosef, that's a really good question. I want you to come and learn with me, Kimatas l'shchitas kachim. When we learn Masechtas Zvachim, I want you to tova actually. I want you to ask me questions. Because you're right. I see you produce with your question good results. You're right. You should give him 1.5. He doesn't have to be satisfied with 1. Gufa. Amaram. By the way, does anybody want to ask me questions on this?
Yeah, when we talk about the shevach, what are we talking about exactly?
What, the grapes? The grapes that grow.
He caused him, I can understand, he caused him a loss of some sort, yet there was shevach.
No, in this case, there was no loss.
I'm going back.
Well, not now, no.
Okay.
On this case, does anybody have any questions on this? No. Gufa. Omer Rav Minyumi Bereider Rav Nechumi Ba'asva Deshakel Shas Lapalga Va'arisa Tilsa, in a place where the planter takes a half and the sharecropper takes the third. Hai Shasla Deboy is Taluke, Yavino Le Shvache, we give him his improvement, Umasalkinon Le, Kiechi Deloy Lifsede Balabayas, in order that the Balabayas shouldn't lose out. We have to make sure that the Balabayas gets after he takes the sharecropper into account and gives the sharecropper a third, he still gets his 3 that he would have got if the planter would not have gone up to Eretz Yisrael. Amar Rav Minyumi, Bereidner Rav Nechumi, Kupa Saba, if a vine is old and it has to be cut down, Palga, the planter divides that withered vine that's cut down half and half with the landowner. But Shatva Nara, if the land was flooded and therefore it cannot produce, where the land is flooded and it cannot produce, so there was no work for the planter, so then the vines that are left, which are of little use, they're only used for their wood, then the planter only gets 1/4 of those vines. Now, Hahu gavra de mashkin pardisa lechavre le'eser shnin. What happened was Eddie took a loan for me of $10,000. And he gave me an orchard as collateral for 10 years, and he told me that I could use it 10 years deducting down the loan. I deduct down the $10,000. V'kosh l'chameshnin. And after 5 years, the vine, as was expected, the vines withered, got old, got sapped. So I want to now, as per arrangement that I'm collecting from this field for the pay down of the debt, I want to go ahead and take the vines. Abaya Amar Peirab. Abaya says, I'm correct. I could take the vines. It's considered peiros of the fruit, and therefore I could take it. Rav Amalek says, no, the vines are part of the land. I have no right to take part of the land. What do? Rava says we have to take those vines, sell them, buy other land, and I take the fruit of that land. Rav Amar Karnahava, the vines are part of the land. We sell it via lokach by karka. We buy with it karka v'u'eichel peiros, and then I could eat the fruit according to the mashkanta arrangement until the end of the, term of the collateral. Meisvei. So the Gemara asks, Abaya says that the vines have a din of fruit, and I could just take the vines. We learned if Eddie gives me a tree as security, Yovei Ilan, if the tree dries out, or nixas, or gets cut, Shneim Asurim Bay. Both the owner cannot use it because it's security for the loan, and I can't use it. Rather, Ketzad Yasu, Yemachru Le'etzim, we sell the tree that was cut or the tree that was withered, V'yolokach B'em Karka, we buy Karka, and then V'u'eichel peiros. So, l'chayr, this is a kash and a baya. My lav yovesh tumya denixas, isn't that mean when it dries out, it's similar to when it was cut down. Ma nixas bismana, just at the cut tree, it was cut down when it can't have fruit anymore. Af yovesh bismana, so also it's withered in its time, and we see that if it withers in its time, it's still not considered peiros. It's still considered part of the karka where you have to sell it and buy other karka. Alma karnave. That means that it's still considered principal. Says Nixas dumya de yavesh. When it's cut down, it's similar to dried out. Just like my yavesh belois manai, it dried out before its time. If it dries out before its time, then that's not considered, even according to Abaya, as expected produce of the field. Afniksa, so also when it's cut down, it's talking about below zmanai, before its time. But einochanami, if it withered when it was expected to wither, that's part of the peiros of the field, and according to Abaya, the one who took it for security could collect all the vines, and then plant it again, and take the fruit again, until the end of the security period. Okay, also not a very easy Gemara, very detailed. We want to now learn the Mishnah Yomis. Hopefully tomorrow, I hope. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have a chayk.